How did this happen? How did I get here? I'm not supposed to be here yet. Holy cow. Check. 1, 2, 3. Boy, this thing is skipping. Let's see what's going on with this cam. Sit tight. Check. 1, 2. Nope, that's still a little wonky. Let's check. Don't go anywhere. Check. 1, 2. Check. 1, 2. That helped a little bit. All right, let's fix the camera. How did I get here? I wasn't supposed to be live. These things just happen. Disconnect, connect. Oh, too far. Okay, let's see how we're doing there. Not bad, not bad. All right, so yeah, hold on a second here. What is going on with this world? I tell you what. The problem is I try to do too much. Let's turn that on. There we go. All right, so we're good to go there. Holy cow. Am I slipping in my elder years? Come on, Tommy. You and I both know the answer to that. Good day, Daniel. Whatever time it is. Okay, let's see. We're good there. We're good there. Yeah, let's see. Gee whiz. Okay, so sit tight. Don't go anywhere. Got to turn the studio lights on. I mean, this is how far behind I am. Holy cow. And I think we're getting some frame drop. It's probably the lighting. Okay. Frame drops. That's interesting. We need to check the network. Let's do one other thing. Don't think that's going to make much difference, but we will see, because we are getting some frame drops. That's interesting. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. Hello, Rich. Welcome. Sorry we missed you over in PC, man. Let me know when you're in Pensacola. RP Media. RP Media. RP Media. Do I know RP Media? I am live. But don't be impressed. don't be impressed. Don't be impressed. Okay, we're going to start the show. We've got a button for that. Here we go. Yes, indeedy. Welcome. I'm Tom Sinclair. This is Streaming Idiots. And so delighted to be again back with you live in front of the camera here in our own little studio. You may notice immediately that we're dropping frames. And we'll talk about that in just a second. Didn't have time to fix it before we got live. So, and I'm not sure that I know how to fix it, but that's a different story. So, cool show today. It's the battle of the updates. vMix dropped an update yesterday. BirdDog dropped a firmware update on Monday. Today is Wednesday, May 11th, 2022, in case you're just now waking up, Tommy. But I think we're going to take a look at these updates and just kind of evaluate them. It's not really a fair test. It's not a fair competition, let me put it that way. Because one is an incremental update to an already mature product. Another represents a beta update that really is a change of what would you call it? A change of philosophy on the part of the other one. Interesting that both are Australian companies. You know, why is it all this good stuff comes from Australia? We were talking with Eamon Drew from BirdDog last week, and he was naming, just company after company after company that was in Australia. And I think it's that criminal mindset, because Australia was a penal colony. So it's all those criminals down there trying to figure out how to get one over on you. Not really. Anyway. Oh, and PTZ Optics just dropped an update. Well, doggone it, I should have included that. We'll have to get that one in, yeah. Pillows over your heads for sure. Hide under the beds, definitely. RP Media, glad to have you with us after all these years. So vMix dropped version 25.0.0.31, an incremental, what I like to call a dot update. The previous version was dot 29, so they skipped one that was sort of probably an internal update, and then they tweaked it and dropped 31 yesterday. And 31, let's see if we can show you what 31 has in it. 31, let's get rid of that lower third, has a new trigger manager in the hamburger menu, and I'll show you that in just a second. That might be the coolest thing. And fixed a replay audio issue with major capture cards. Will now prompt to stop all inputs when opening a preset instead of just showing an error. Okay, that's a for the people that were faced with that, that's a good improvement. That a virtual input will no longer save a duplicate file in a bundle. That makes sense. No sense in saving two giant videos if one is just a virtual input of the other. And then fix an automatic mixing issue when switching between replay A and B when both are set to run separately. Probably not something that many people would even use. But nevertheless, it's fixed, and that's the important thing about it. The important thing is always that things get fixed when they're supposed to get fixed. And then the BirdDog guys, and what we're going to take a look at, let's take a look at the vMix stuff right now. Let me add a desktop capture so that we can we can look at the hamburger menu, because that's really the only thing we're going to be able to see. Desktop capture, display 1, and boom, there we go. All right, so this is, come on, get up there. There we go. This is it. Don't pay any attention to that window. It just goes off to infinity. You know how that is. But really what we want to pay attention to is right down there in the bottom. I'm going to take my mouse. See my mouse right there. See it right there. And we're going to go down to the hamburger menu, that 3-line menu. It's kind of like a bun with a hamburger in between. Yeah, 3-line menu. Oh, let's do one more thing to this. Let's go ahead and sharpen it so that you can see any text. Boom, there we go, sharpen. So we're going to come down here to the hamburger menu, and we're going to see that there is something now down here called Trigger Manager. So let's fire it up. Let's take a look. There's Trigger Manager. Ooh, look at all those triggers. Ooh, yummy. So we've got a trigger that's in my main shot, which is input number 1, and it tells you what the trigger is. And okay, basically it just lists out all the triggers, and it can tell you which triggers are active, they have checks, and which are inactive because they don't have checks. So there are all my secrets. Holy cow, yeah. Wow. How many does it have? Oh, it doesn't say. Doesn't really matter. So if I can select one, then I have the opportunity to go to the input settings. Let's take a look at that. And when I go to that one input number 1, we see all the triggers associated with input number 1, and now we can modify them. And let's go back here. Can we modify from this screen? If I double click this, can I edit it? Double click? Nope. Right click? Nope. I can just use this as a menu to let's put that up there so it's not so distracting. There we go. I can use this as a menu so that I can choose the trigger that might be giving me problems. Plus, it gives me an idea, in one place. Oh, there's two triggers there I didn't know I had. How about that? Okay, big thumbs up on this one from somebody that uses a lot of triggers. And also, sometimes triggers, sometimes they don't work the way, I was going to say they don't work right, but they don't work the way you think they're going to work. They work the way you, they work right. It's just not the right that you wanted to have it do. So yeah, but triggers are great. Triggers are great. Highly recommend triggers. By the way, did you notice that frame drop? Yep. So here's the deal. We're using no, we're not using a beta version. We're using a new version of vMix, vMix.31, and we're using a beta firmware update on my P200. BirdDog camera. So I'm betting that the frame drops are coming from the P200. In fact, let's just for funsies, let's put up the webcam, and we'll see if we're getting any frame drops in the webcam. Doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like frame drops in the webcam at all. Why is it so close up? Holy cow. That's a close webcam shot. Okay. All right, let's go back to the main shot here. Yeah, there we go. And so I think the hamburger menu, I love the hamburger menu because now we're adding all these other possibilities. I think that by adding this, and let's go back to that shot for just a second. I think by adding this to the hamburger menu that people, number one, are going to discover that it's there and use it more. I mean, because here's vMix Social, GT Title Designer, Data Sources Manager, the Legacy Title Designer, vMix Tools and Media Converters and Diagnostics, and vMix NDI Configuration. I don't know that we want to do that one right now. Yeah, we'll come back and we'll use that one another time. That just bombed out my desktop capture. So we need to experiment with these things. Yes, we need to play with them so that we can have some idea whether they're going to work for us in the future or not. Okay, so let's take a look at the BirdDog stuff. So this is the BirdDog NDI 5 beta firmware release 5.0.040. So you can see it's still in early stages. I mean, heck, it's a beta. The big news, I think, is that, well, there are two big things. A big thing and a medium thing. Yeah, it uses NDI5 libraries. Of course, that's the whole purpose of this thing. But it also, I feel like I'm like something's missing here. Can we do something here? Hold on just a second. We're going to just do something here. Yeah, that's not what we're doing. We're doing this. I'm just feeling left out. So I'm going to bring me down here. There we go. Now I feel better. All right. So if I look up like that, I can be looking up at it. All right. So BirdDog is now using NDI5. That's good. That's great. But the second line, the unified single file firmware. And you're like, what? What is that? Think about it like this. In the past, if you had more than one kind of BirdDog camera, say maybe a P200 and a P400 or a P100, if you needed to make a firmware update to those cameras, you had special firmware for the 100, different firmware for the 200, different firmware for the 400, and sometimes they would kind of be in sync with each other. That is, if a feature was added to one, it might be added to another, or maybe that one was behind and it was coming up in the future. So their idea is that they're going to take a page from the Blackmagic playbook, Australian company Blackmagic. If you've ever updated the drivers for any Blackmagic capture card, whether it's the Quad 2, the Quad 2 or the Duo 2 or the Intensity Pro. Remember the good old Intensity Pro? Or the Mini, what was the Mini? Not the Mini Monitor. Anyway, the other Mini, or even the Mini Monitor for that matter. There was one firmware driver update. And you downloaded that and installed that. And if you had a variety of cards in your case, it applied to all of them. And so this is kind of, it's not really one size fits all, but it's the engineers at BirdDog that have said, let's do one firmware that's going to detect that this is a P100 and put the proper stuff on that one. And the same firmware is going to detect if this is a P200 and put the proper stuff on that one, so that the user updates one firmware file and he can use it for all their cameras. Now I used this update, the 5.0.040. We'll call it a .040. That's an interesting. There's some meaning in that. We'll have to figure it out. That I use that today, and immediately I'm getting this frame drop issue. So it's a beta. I'm going to report this. The first thing I did when I noticed it, and I was actually on air by accident. I'm an idiot. Of course I'm an idiot. I mean, that's the whole purpose, right? Anyway, I noticed it immediately, and I went to the web interface, the web GUI for the P200, which I'll show you in just a second because it's changed. It took me a second to find things. Anyway, I thought, well, maybe this is a network issue, so I reduced the amount of bandwidth that this camera was using on the network, which is really easy to do. It was easy to do before, but it's easy to do now. So coming back to this list, the new control engine, I don't have a clue what that is. We'll work on that. And the new web UI is what I want to show you here in just a second. So let me get a screen capture up here. Have I got a screen capture? Screen capture. Oh yeah, we did. We did have a screen capture and it died. So let's get rid of that one. We'll get rid of that one. And let's go back and see if we can do a desktop capture on display 2. There we go. All right, so let's find. Yeah, this is a good example. So this is the old BirdDog version. This happens to be the P100, and this is how you would do it. You would let's log out. We'll log in with the password. I'll tell you my password. It's BirdDog. And once you're logged in, it takes you to this dashboard, and that's the way it was. And you went into the individual sections of it, and then there were sub menus up here that were kind of hard to read. You know, I guess maybe it depended on your system and when was the last time it was updated, what those were. But this is the new interface. This is the P200. So now we have all of our categories down the left side. Let's go back to the dashboard. And the dashboard gives us even more information than we had before. Not sure what system utilization is. By the way, they misspelled it for all of you here in the States. Let's just sharpen that just a shade. There we go. They didn't really. It's the Australian spelling. And they've given us more information. Network bandwidth, I'm only taking 2% of the network. That's interesting. And it's given me the status that this is a cam. Here's 1080p 5994. Audio status is mute because I don't have any audio hooked up to the camera. Video resolution 1920 1080. Genlock status not active. So I could genlock it, I guess, if I knew what that was. Video frame rate, audio sample rate, network mode, video sample rate. Sorry, that was video frame rate before. And then the average bit rate is 103 megabits per second. And then system details. Basically, it tells you, how the camera is named and what the firmware version is, which is .040 beta. And then down the left side, we have the new organization of the categories. Basically the same information as before. Here's the system, but without those little kind of little tabs or submenus that didn't show up very well. Would appreciate if we weren't using so much gray on gray, but yeah, that's just old man talking. AV setup is where where some goodies is. This is where I came to the encode settings right here and did the bit rate management right here and changed it from NDI managed to manual and dropped it back down to 105 on the slider. Let's see, can I edit it here? I just put in 100. Nope, it does slider only. So we're right there on the slider. And then cam control takes the place of whatever this was before. I guess AV. Yeah, where I had all my settings. This is back to the P200 now. All my device settings, encoder settings, exposure, white balance, picture, etc. Here it's called cam control. And there is cam control, so I actually have control of this camera here. And something new called Free D, which is currently in development and doesn't support full frame rate data transfer. This feature should only be experimented with, so we might experiment with that later when we're off air. Preset sets, camera presets as before. Exposure is the same as it was before. White balance, I mean, basically these haven't changed, just the way they're displaying changes. Yeah, I think we have fewer controls here than we did before, but that's okay. And then the advanced. And then we also have a scopes screen. So we can turn on the scopes in preview. Let's see if that really does anything. Doesn't do anything on my preview. And we'll make it transparent. That didn't seem to do anything either. So position top left. I don't see anything up top left. We'll have to play with that feature and find out more about it. But what that tells me is, whoops, didn't mean to do that. Holy cow. Sorry about that. What it tells me is that, number one, BirdDog has changed the interface, and we've seen that. We saw that at NAB. They showed off this interface. I guess they were showing off this beta, but my guess maybe is that the version they had there on the floor was different than the version that we've got here. And I noticed one thing right now, that my tally light is flickering on and off. Well, it just went off and it stayed off. So there's no tally on this camera. Do I have a tally set for this? Let's go back to cam control and see, is that part of the tally light, cam control? Focus. Well, let me let you see what I'm seeing while I'm seeing it. Preset, nope. Exposure doesn't have tally lights. White balance, picture 1, picture 2. color matrix, advanced. Don't see tally lights there. Let's go back to AV setup. Onboard tally. There we go. Tally on. So we've got tally on, tally off, and video mode. And I've got tally on, but the tally on is, can we do a apply? Will that make a difference? Let's see. Yes. Oh, tally was on, flickered twice, and is back on again. That flicker, I wonder if that's a way to attract my attention to it. Okay. Oh, nope, now the tally's gone out again. Interesting. I don't think that's intentional. We'll have to get with them and find out. So the big things I think about this update from BirdDog is obviously NDI 5. I mean, that's the big kicker right there. So it's got maximum support, maximum compatibility across the entire NDI ecosystem, which is going to be not just local area network now, but outside of that. So somebody could be watching me on this camera right now. But I think one of the greatest features for the end user is going to be the ability to have just what they're calling unified single file firmware. So if you've got several BirdDogs and they're different flavors, it's only going to take one download, and the update process. In fact, let's update the P200. Have we got time? I mean the P100. We've got time for that. So let's go over to this desktop capture screen again. I'm going to go back to the P100 interface, and let's go back to the dashboard so we kind of start in a place. And you can see right now that the firmware version ends in LTS. That's really important. Ending in LTS is really critical. I've lost myself again. Can I put myself? Do you mind? I just need to put myself back in there. I feel so empty if I'm not there. So we'll just put me down here. Hopefully I'll be out of the way. We'll do that and then just crop me a little bit on the side. There we go. Okay. Oh, notice how it didn't crop all of me? We'll talk about that at one point too. So let's see. Do we crop the whole thing? Yeah, we'll just crop the whole thing. That way, it's just me. It's just you and me. All right. So this is the current UI, and everything is as it was. I think system is where we want to go to do a system update. So we're going to choose the file. And the file we're going to choose is in the download subdirectory. There it is. You can see there's the vMix updated, and here's the beta firmware. And again, really important that you have the LTS driver on here before anything else. So we're going to update here, and it's going to click and buzz and whir. Well, maybe. Oh, there we go. All right, so you have to be patient. So we're waiting for the updater service, connecting to the updater service, processing the updater package, blah, 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 stopping BirdDog services, installing the required packages. Come on. Come on. And in just a second, it's going to tell us that it's rebooting. Copying libraries. There we go. Copying new BirdDog data, copying new BirdDog-20, copying library, setting default system target, syncing file systems. Congratulations, your firmware is now updated and your device is rebooting. No, it's not moving. It says after reboot, you can simply refresh this browser and log back in. Okay, well, let's give it just a minute and see if anything happens on its own. In fact, let's don't do that. Let's live dangerously, shall we? I'm just going to restart this page, refresh this page, and boom, there we go. Now I think, do I have to log in? If I try it, let's see if I try to do something. Does it ask me to log in? Yeah, there we go. All right, so there's login right there. And oh, nice little interface. Don't know if you saw BirdDog at NAB or anything, any of the videos they did at NAB, but this is kind of the new enhanced logo. And again, I'm going to put the password in here, BirdDog, all lowercase. And the next time I come back and do it, Google Chrome will actually have remembered it. Okay, so we're seeing this system utilization number kind of drop around. Started at 70 something, now into the 30s. We'll keep an eye on that. And it says Devatus mode is in code, system status, streaming NDI to 4. Not sure what that is. Network bandwidth is 2. And let's come down here and see, does it show us here what the, yeah, here we go. Average bit rate, 130. So we can adjust that down. And it tells us here also our network speed is a gig network. So there's some good information on here. And the only menus that you're missing right here behind me are the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn, I think, logos. Let's go to the network tab. Here on the network tab, we can see that it's set up for self-discovery. Anything else interesting here? Nope. We'll go to the system tab, and this would be where we would do our updates in the future. And again, one interesting thing on this, I don't know if you noticed it, but I didn't use a thumb drive. I didn't use a little USB lightning stick or whatever those suckers are called. I didn't have to do 2 steps. Now, there may be a time in the future where you have to update what they call, I think it's called the baseboard. But this was simply a firmware update. I didn't have to leave my chair. The camera's right over there. In fact, let's bring that camera in. I don't think we're going to see any difference with it. There it is. Let's see if we can go into the controls for it. PTZ controls. Yeah, I like now that, I don't know whether BirdDog did this or, hold on, can we move that camera around a little bit, down a little bit, and zoom in a little bit. There we go. Don't know if BirdDog did this or if vMix did this, but now when you go into the PTZ tab for the camera in vMix, the IP address is already entered. You don't have to go find the IP address, discover it somehow. It wasn't connected. I had to connect it, but the IP address was already present. The device type of Sony Visca over IP was already selected. And I'll have to add this guy again and make sure that that's the case. So yeah, so this camera looks, I guess it looks about the way it did before. I didn't play with it much before the show. That's the way I look in real life. So yeah, it's struggling with the focus a little bit because it's not sure what to focus on. So let's see. Can we give it a? Yeah, we'll give it a little less zoom, so it'll be okay. But it's gonna be fun to play with. This is the P100, which is now the P1 line is now being expanded. The P100 is a 10X. They've added a P110, which is that a 10X too? Maybe it's a 12X. Maybe it's going to replace this guy. And then there's a P120, which is a 20X. And they are pretty cool. They're the ones that have the Mohawk tally light that starts in the front of the camera and goes back to the back of the camera like a Mohawk. So there we go. All right, so we'll have to play around with this some more and kind of see how they feel, how they look. So let's see, am I dropping frames anymore on this guy? Can we tell? Yeah, still dropping frames on this one. Let's go back to the P100. Kevin, that's a good idea. We're going to go back to the P100, and do we see any frame drops here? No. Interesting. Probably should have popped this guy in although he seems to have a little focus. Although this is cool. Oh boy, look at the detail. You see that hair right there? I mean, holy cow. The focus is searching just a little bit more than I would like. But when it focuses on me, it does, and the camera's probably, what is that, 8 feet away? And it is blurring my background just a little bit. If you look at, well, look at that pole, for example. When I'm in focus, that guy is slightly out of focus. You see the wrinkles there are not nearly as sharp as the wrinkles back here. You can tell I'm a big one on ironing my green screen. But yeah, that be the deal. That be the deal. All right, so we've got our P100 is now updated and doing well. A little bit of a focus issue. We'll play with that. Our P200 is updated and is having a little bit of a frame drop issue. So we'll play with that and maybe suggest that their tech support take a look at what we've got going on here. Yeah. All right. Very good. So the difference, KMR is asking the difference between the P100 and the P200. The P200 is a 30x lens. The P100 is a 10x lens. My understanding is that there is a little bit of a quality difference between the sensor in the two. So the P200 is going to give us a little bit better of a picture, maybe a lot better of a picture. Let's see if we can cook up a little side by side here. So I am going to, can I share my screen, or did I already kill that? Let's try again. Desktop capture, and we'll capture number 2 because I think that's where we are right here. Yeah. All right, desktop capture number, nope. I have desktop capture number 1. Add input, desktop capture number 1. There we go. All right, so that's number 1. And I'm just going to add an input. I'm going to add a color. Just for fun, we're going to make it an annoying color like magenta. And then we'll go into that and we'll set up a layer. We'll do a side by side. And we'll do, let's go ahead and do the main shot. And then we'll do the other bird dog. Is that it? Yeah, there we go. Side by side. And unfortunately, they're not in front of each other. So let's go full screen with them. And the lighting obviously is set up for this one and not for that one. And we could go in and tweak. Let's see. Let's go into the BirdDog P100. I wish the numbers for what camera you were using were bigger, but they have a photo. So we're going to go into cam control. Would you like to see what I'm doing here? I'd like you to see what I'm doing here. So we're going to cam control, and we want to set the exposure. It's set on full auto. Let's go to iris priority. And F4. Let's see, what is the P200 doing there so far as exposure? Iris priority gain. Oh, it's got a gain limit. And the iris is down here at an F24. So it looks like the iris is, yeah, it looks like that's different. So it's a 2.4. So let's just set it for the same thing. Oops, sorry. 2.4. There we go. So the iris is set the same. The lighting is not the same, obviously, because it's 2 different levels. So white balance is in 1 push. So we'll come back to white balance here. and we'll do one push. Yeah, there we go. So we got one push there. What else have we tweaked the color in this in vMix? Let's just look at color adjustments, color key, color correction. There's a little bit of color correction there, but not much. Probably can do some sharpness. Sharpness is on 3 on the P100. Sharpness is on 1 on the P200. I thought it was higher than that. Let's go back and do sharpness. Yeah, it looks like the sharpness effect is different. Noise reduction of 3. Noise reduction of 3, that's the same. Okay, it looks like the BirdDog has got some saturation, hue, contrast, gamma controls down here. I mean, the P100 that the P200 does not have. But I think the color matrix in the P200 is a little, yeah, it's a little different. Looks a little more sophisticated. Don't know what the heck it does. Anything there that I'm interested in? Probably not. So we've got white balance and exposure are set the same, camera to camera. I've probably got too much sharpness in this one. You can see, or you can't see at all. Let's see. And possibly, you know, I have very little zoom on this camera, and probably maybe half zoomed in on this one. Do we have a zoom? Can we see the zoom control? System, AV setup, cam control. Is cam control where the zoom is? Yeah, but it doesn't tell you what it is. Okay. All right. All right. Well, that's interesting. That's interesting, yes. Hello, Jens. Glad to have you. Ken's asking, how does the P200 handle theater lighting? I think it handles theater lighting really well. We've got so a couple of performing arts centers, an old historic theater, a big conference center that has a giant auditorium, and all of those chose the P200 with our help, of course, because they did so many different lighting configurations. You know, a dramatic, a play was different than a graduation ceremony. You know, that kind of stuff. So yeah. All right, well, let's go to the post show, and we'll come back and look through the comments and see if you've got any questions that I might actually have an answer to. So, thanks for watching this part of the show. Let's go to the post show. We'll be right back after this cool change that is courtesy of. Who is this courtesy of? Who could possibly have done this for me? Could it have been Martin K? I think it was Martin K. Yeah. All right, we're back. So, yeah. So let's see. Alade. says, I would say you need more depth in the color on the camera on the right. I agree. I agree. Yeah, I think I've tweaked this guy a little bit that I haven't tweaked. I mean, the other one came out of the box and got set up, but it doesn't have a drop frame problem. Yeah. So, hello, Michael. It's good to see you. Glad to have you. And Jens, welcome. Good to see you. Glad to have you. It's been 2.5 years since I've seen you. Hope you're well. Hope your dad's well. Quality of the P200 is so much better with frame drops. Yeah, the frame drops are a feature. It's not a bug. It's a feature. Is make sure you're watching and paying attention. It keeps you interested. Yeah, right. Oh my gosh, that's too funny. It's pronounced Alade. Alade. Oh, Anderson. Okay, cool. Welcome. Glad you're here. We've missed you. Yes, indeedy. Plus, like, is it Matrox and Blackmagic, and there's a storage, digital storage company from down there too. I mean, Jens. I got Jens on the brain now. Eamon named a bunch of them last week when he was there. Okay, so RP Media says, Tom, try out the new Canon PTZ CR N300 and the N500. I don't have access to those, but I'll keep my eye out for them. Yep. You know, it's kind of funny. Some people would call me a system integrator or an AV integrator, but I'm just a regular guy. And, you know, I find that I want to find the up-and-coming stars. You know, Canon's been in the industry for a gazillion years. You know, Sony, sure, Panasonic, JVC, you know, those guys have been around a long time. But I'm interested in the ones that are just coming out, and are companies that maybe I can help, and they can certainly help me. And so it was great to form a relationship. It's probably 8 years ago with PTZ Optics, to form a relationship early on with the guys at BirdDog before they were even doing cameras. And then when they were doing cameras, to embrace them and want to help them come along. And so finding, you know, the user that had the need and the vendor that had the product, and try to match them up together. And I think BirdDog represents a unique offering in the market, because theirs is the only camera out of the box that is full NDI, not NDI HX or HX2 or HX3, but full NDI. Now you can take a Canon or a Sony or whatever, Panasonic if you like, and put a converter on it, like a BirdDog Flex 4K in, and convert SDI or HDMI to NDI, full NDI, and get it in there. But it's not the same. Not the same as out of the box. Yep. All right, let's see. What am I missing? Maria's bragging. Jan is showing up when he can. And there's a conversation going on just behind the scenes. It has nothing to do with me. That's okay. I'm not offended. My feelings aren't hurt much. Oh, gosh. All right, let's go back in time a little bit and see if we can see what we missed P200 too sharp. Ah. Well, and that's the thing. You've got complete control. We can turn the sharpness down. We can. The reason I had the sharpness up is because I wanted to show the detail of the camera, so you can see the whiskers, you can see the wrinkles, the kinds of things that maybe somebody that was doing a broadcast or a talking head show of some kind would want you sort of back off that a little bit. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, brave. That's what we'll call it. We'll call it brave. Thank you very much. It's brave. Yeah, I'm brave. He's not stupid. He's brave. The BirdDog updates. To my knowledge, I have never, to my knowledge, of course, to my knowledge, I have never heard anyone from BirdDog ever say anything about paying for an update. It doesn't appear, and I had an extensive conversation with Dan Mile, one of the founders, on the floor of NAB about that, and he said, our idea is to reward our customers into the future. And I was talking with BirdDog John, one of their tech support guys, he asked me to do a little podcast with him. It's up on YouTube if you want to go look at it. I liked it. It was fun. It was fun to sit down and shoot the breeze with somebody that knew what I was talking about, eyeball to eyeball for a change. And we were talking about that, and he said, my point to him was, you keep upgrading these cameras and making them like this, and nobody's going to buy new ones because you're making the old ones better and better and better. And he said, yeah, but we sell out everything we produce. I'm like, okay, well, that is the other side of it. That is the other side of it. Yep. Let's go back in time a little bit further here. And there's somebody out there leave their phone on. Well, it was me. You have heard correctly. Sometimes they will advertise a camera as NDI capable. And you have to buy the license separately, but most of the time, if they're saying in the title line for the camera NDI, they mean, number one, they mean NDI HX or HX2 or HX3, and they generally mean that the license is bundled in with it. I know a while back, Panasonic had some cameras that they brought to market. This has been years ago, that were NDI capable, and they didn't sell the license with it, but they advertised it as an NDI camera, and they caught a lot of flack from that, including from me. That's when we did the NDI leash. That was a product that we came out for my Jack Russell Terrier that made him NDI compatible. Yeah, that was Rooney. You've seen Rooney around somewhere. Hello, Ray. Welcome. Sorry for the late welcome. Hello, Alan. I think Chris nailed it right there. And we have to go take a look at this one. I think the neat thing about this update is that it allows MIDI control of the camera. And I think that's a pretty big deal. Let's see, what else did we miss? We'll have to see if that was the case. Thanks, Tommy. I always knew I could count on you. I don't know if that's offered to me or not, but I'll take you up on it. Kevin has been surfing on the skirtings of the internet, on the edges of the internet. Well, we'll see. You know, it's one of those things. When I fall into a hole, I'm going to mark the hole and say, don't fall into this hole. Yeah. No, 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 no. I just fall into more holes than you do. Oh, yens. Well, let's see. One, two. I've got two in use. And then I've got a demo P400 that I just happen to have back in the studio now. So that would make three. And then I've got a P100 fresh, never been opened, never been used. So that would make four. So yeah, I have four. But that's the fun about this job is, you know, I can buy this stuff and play with it and learn how to use it and then tell you about it. And you're like, oh, that looks cool. I'd like one. And then I can tell you, hey, I've got an in-studio demo that I can make a deal on. And then you're happy and I'm happy and I'm going to sell the in-store demo, in-studio demo and take that money and put it into something else that I'm interested in. So yeah. Now that's an interesting question. I don't know that you can take an NDI HX camera and upgrade it to NDI, full NDI. I think there's a brick wall in between the two. And NDI HX is over here and NDI is over here, and never the twain shall meet. Now the future could change that, but I think right now that's the thing. Yeah, it's interesting. I have a friend who used to do a lot of work with Canon as a consultant and approached them maybe 3 years ago and said, hey, you guys need to look at NDI and find a way to get it into your cameras. And they laughed at him. They laughed him out the door. They said, why would we want to do that? We're Canon. Rest of the story is Canon has adopted HX3 because they're losing sales. I mean, yeah, you know, you may be Canon, but if somebody needs NDI and you don't have it, they're going to go somewhere else. I would be interested to know more. I'll keep my eyes out, but if you see who that is, shoot me a note and let me know. Post it in the Streaming Idiots group and let's look at it. My dear, that has been my motto since high school. One day we'll have that conversation about who I used to be. Yeah. You know, Bill, that's an interesting comment because I think what you're seeing is, number one, most of the cameras that you're seeing that are not already brand names are Chinese and Chinese knockoffs. And the unforced or the forced sharing of technology over there means that, you know, I can put a camera on the market and have somebody or want to bring a camera to the market, have somebody over there build it for me. And in 6 months, I have 3 other cameras out there that have the same function as mine that are competing against mine for 50% less. I've watched it happen. And, you know, they probably are going to be, you know, clones. And so whatever flaws were in mine will be in theirs. And they didn't do any of the R&D, so they have no way of improving the camera other than just copying whatever R&D I do in the future. Not really happy with that situation, but it does mean that a certain level of technology becomes more affordable. So there is a benefit to it in that regard. Interesting thought. Interesting thought. Yep. That's another interesting thought. I would really like to discuss that with you. Let's do dinner again soon. Do I think the Netgear XS512 EM Spitch with 10 would be enough for 4 captures and 2 Zoom computers? The general rule of thumb with NDI, because I think that's where you're going, is a gigabit system will handle 7. So using that same math, a 10G system would handle 70. But a 10G system would definitely be enough for 4 and a couple of computers. Which cable should I use to connect over PoE? There's so many different ones. The biggest, baddest one you can afford. I think, I don't know, somebody else out there, Jan probably knows, the standard for 10 gig and PoE. I know, Cat 5e would do PoE. That's what the E was for. But I don't think it would work on a gig network. It would only carry 100 megs. And then a Cat 6 had the E built into it. And that's what we're using here. We've kind of worked all our 5 and 5Es out because this cable doesn't work. Oh, yes. Look on it. It's Cat 5. Well, that's a really good point, Marie, that they're reusing the injection molds. I spent a summer working in an injection molding plastic factory. The factory made, this will date you, it made, what did you call them? I guess reels, plastic reels for data tape. And they were branded IBM. Of course, we also made like gas tanks for lawnmowers, so it was an interesting factory. And then we made there was a giant machine that did styrofoam, and they made styrofoam ice chests. And I started out on a machine that made a part. Have no clue what that part did, but it made a part. And my job was to open the door and pull out the parts and close the door and cut the parts apart and put them in a little box. And I did that for a while, and then they said, you know how to drive a forklift? And I said, no, but I can learn fast. And they said, okay, you're our guy, come on. So they had me now feeding all of these, well, I didn't feed the machines with plastic because they were fed from a central container, but I fed the central container. Yeah, it was fascinating. I enjoyed that job. It was a summer job, started at 11 in the evening and got off at 7 in the morning. Yeah, it gave me a whole new view on the 24-hour day. It was a good job. Well, Ken's got a comment. There we go. The move has begun. A gig is now no longer a gig. A gig is just a gig. Yep. Well, now that's an interesting thought. Probably not before September. We'll have to see. I'm trying to sweet talk Sandy into accompanying me to IBC. We'll see. We'll just have to see how things shake out. Little tad nervous about going overseas, and I'm not a nervous kind of guy. Thank you, Jan. All right. Cat 6A. There we go. Don't do it. Standardize your cameras. Try to get cameras that have all the same chip. If you have a camera that doesn't, sell it and buy one that does. It won't, your life will be so much simpler, so much easier, and you'll look so much more professional. That's my suggestion. Maggie will be there for sure. Maggie will be there. I feel pretty certain that Tim and Martin from vMix will be there. I feel very certain that Eamon and Dan from BirdDog will be there. I would imagine that Rudy would be there. Oh, we'll just have to wait and see. Yeah, I think that's the idea. If you're building something now, yeah, you know, the gig stuff is really, really inexpensive and tempting, but I would try to build it, you know, a 10 gigabit network. That ought to last you a couple of years. No. Somebody else might have, but not this little cowboy. Yep. Yep, yep. All right, B's and G's, boys and girls. I loved hanging out with you. I got to go figure out this frame drop issue because it's there. Pretty little face, but not with frame drops. And got some PCs to build and people to make happy. But you made me happy and you honored me by tuning in today and hanging out and chatting and that kind of stuff. And if it looks like we're going to make it across the pond, I will make sure everybody knows as soon as possible. I'd love to do a little Streaming Idiots meetup over there and hang out with you guys for sure. So until that time, later. Loved hanging out with you. Thanks for watching.